Okay, I'm gonna start. All right, I call this meeting to order. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the regular board meeting for June, the budget workshop. And we have an executive session later as well. Today is Monday, June 9th, 2025. And Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Here. Vice Chairman Priscilla Casino.
Here.
Chairman Travis Manning.
Here.
Here.
Here. Please join me with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. All right, approval of the board meeting agenda postings, Madam Clerk.
For Monday, June 9th. The agenda was posted on Friday. The agenda was posted at the following locations: the Caldwell Forest website and the Pueblo District office.
Okay, I will take a motion to approve and accept the clerk's agenda postings.
Chairman Manning, I'd like to make a motion to approve and accept the agenda posting for Monday, June 9th, 2025.
Okay, motion by trustee Godina. Do I have a second?
Second.
That was a very close second. I'm gonna go with trustee Pacino on this one. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Okay, we are information items and reports. Dr. French.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman Manning and trustees. So this evening, we have, just want to thank you to you. Don Spurlock was sharing some information about the February 12th day that you approved for kindergarten to attend a training. So I just wanted to give her an opportunity to share that. Thank you with you.
Chairman Manning, trustees, Dr. French. I wanted to take an opportunity to thank the board for allowing us to provide a day of professional development on challenging behaviors from the Tools of the Mind group to our preschool and kindergarten staff and share the impact that it has had. At the end of the year PBIS team meeting with Wilson Elementary, we were talking about all of the Tier 1 supports, the universal supports for all that they have in place for students. Stacy Mitchell, who teaches kindergarten, was talking about the Tools of the Mind training that they call the Bites of Tools, and how valuable they felt the training was. She also mentioned that the kindergarten team is very interested in further trainings with the Tools of the Mind group. A first grade teacher, Angie Williamson, who was also on the team, added that she was hoping that the district could provide the same or a similar training for the first grade team, because she said the importance of carrying those same strategies and those same tools forward into older grade levels is vital in ensuring that students aren't having to learn new terms, new language, new strategies every year. They shared that based on the first grade team's interest, their instructional coach had put together a short professional development on a PLC day to provide to the first grade teachers that was the best that she could remember from the training that they had received that day. But Angie shared that although that was really great and she was appreciative to their instructional coach, that it would be really great for them to be able to receive that same training or something similar from Tools. She also mentioned that in the teacher's lounge at lunch, some of the older upper grade elementary teachers had also shared, what's this thing you're talking about that you did? And so I just wanted to share that with you because Although providing professional development on a scheduled school day interrupted the day of the teacher, the days of the teachers, families, all of that. What the Wilson team shared with me confirms that not only did they find the training helpful and beneficial to their students, but that it's making a positive impact on our students. And those kindergarten and preschool students this year will be first graders next year and potential kindergartners. And as they move up through the years, they'll be able to take the strategies that their kindergarten teachers taught them with them when they run into frustrating situations that may have in the past caused challenging behavior, but now they have the balloon tool to be able to understand how to deal with it. So thank you for your support.
All right, thanks, Ms. Spurlock. Any questions for Ms. Spurlock? Thank you very much
Thank you,
for
Don.
coming. Appreciate
Ms.
it.
Spurlock.
And we just want to thank the board for allowing us to do that because it was quite a ask, right? So thank you.
All right, thanks, Dr. French.
Mhm.
We move now to the consent agenda. The board may take action, approve, deny, or amend, modify anything on this list. Is there anything that any of the board members want to have pulled for further consideration? I would like to pull item D surplus. Have a conversation here momentarily. That being said, I'll take a motion to accept all the other items from the consent agenda.
Chairman Manning, I would like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda minus item D, which is the surplus item.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Pacina. Do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Godina, thank you. Any further discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we move to items from the consent agenda. So the surplus, I was noticing the list from the Caldwell High School librarian. And if you had a chance to look at that, there was an extensive list of books that were being, I suppose you say removed from weeded.
Weeded.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Thinned, weeded, pulled, weeded. Dr. French, how would you define weeded? Do you have a,
And it's a library term that it's in our policy that when they remove a book, they can weed out a book, which is removing it from circulation. And it's just one way that they rid them, clean up old books that aren't either checked out or tattered or, sure, yes. So that they can, yes.
Because I noticed some of these.
Sometimes it looks like hoarding, yeah, so we were cleaning out some of those older books. Does that help?
a little bit? Trustee Robertson, you were saying something?
Yeah, well, I was looking at the list to see that it looked like a number of them were duplications. But my question is, when the librarians weed these out, what happens to the books?
Trustee Robertson and trustees, so there are times where I have seen them set out on carts, so the kids, they're free to be taken.
Okay.
And they usually stamp them with a notice that it has been discarded so that they know that it's not a book, that someone who hasn't checked it out and never checked it back in.
Right.
So that it's noticed that it's discarded and they give those away. Sometimes that's during parent-teacher conferences or back to school night. Other time, if they're really in poor condition, they'll be thrown away. They're not, I don't believe they're sold though. They're usually just given out.
I have a follow-up, please.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if they, at the end of the distribution, giveaway, take one, they're free, if the ones that were left over that are in decent shape can be located or donated, to the Caldwell Library, Public Library. Because I know that they take donated books and then if they don't have it on the shelf, they shelve it. And if they do have it, then they sell it as a fundraiser for the public library. So that might be a good place to donate them if all takers are done at the schools themselves.
And I defer to Julie Mead. May I?
Chairman Manning, as your person, I don't know specifically what they take and what they don't take, but just some other avenues that we've used when we have extra books. Sometimes we get them donated, sometimes when we move through a curriculum and sort of we use our community schools as a mechanism for that as well. Paul Webb, so just having them available in those spaces for parents if they come and go. And then through our community schools, we have I'm not gonna get the name of it right, but a event once a month or whatever, where folks come and they pick up food boxes, or we have several events that we do throughout the year. And so we've had, at those, we had a whole bunch of books from Lincoln, and Paul and his folks gave those out. So, I'm sure if the library's taking them, that's also an option, but we have a variety of different ways that we are just trying to get books in kids' hands. So,
Yeah.
we're really intentional.
Well, I know another place that will take donations too is a senior citizen center. Because a lot of people that go there don't have access to, I mean, I'm thinking magazines is one option, but to just a library of books. And so that might be another thing to look into.
And Chairman Manning, trustees, I did reach out to Mrs. Grebenau, but she is on break and I haven't heard back as to the amount and the why behind the number of books. So I can't answer a question in that regard.
Chairman Manning, quick question for Dr. French. So the currency on the right-hand side, is that how much we paid for the books? The district paid for the books, or is that, why is the amount there? The price, I should say.
I'm just. I would have to, I'm sorry.
That's-
Trustee Godina, Chairman Manning, trustees, I can't answer that. I'm assuming that. I assumed that, but I can't be definite on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I mean, I looked through every single book on this list, and some of them definitely are outdated, nonfiction books from the 1990s. I mean, you can, because of the internet, you can find up-to-date resources, and some of these books are dated. Some of these books are also controversial topics. Some of the fiction books, I'm a little bit familiar with as well. And so I know the legislature has been, what's the right term? Weeding things, perhaps, is the term. Also banning.
Yep.
Also, other words I might use, with texts from our libraries, public libraries, whether they be schools or public libraries. And so, I don't know. I just wonder if some of these books were removed because of some legislative mandates or something, because I know that there are some issues about some texts, and I don't know. I just wonder if it might be worth having a conversation. Maybe we table this, I don't know, a month or two until the librarian can speak with us. Maybe it's till August, I don't know. And find out why because it is hundreds of books are being removed from Caldwell High School. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or feelings, but those are some wonderings that I had. So I would take a motion to table this till August, if anyone was willing.
I guess just before I get to that, my thought is that we do have a policy for how these books are weeded. And so I guess my assumption, and I guess that's a question, is as long as the policy was followed, then there's no reason to table it. I was just trying to do a quick search to try and find that policy, but I couldn't quite find it. So.
All right. If there's no motion, then I'll take a motion to approve the removal of these books from our library. Just as a reminder, the chair cannot make a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve and accept the item D surplus.
Okay, motion by trustee Butler. Do we have a second?
A second.
Trustee Roberts, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Chairman Manning and trustees, I will send you policy 2500 on the library media materials so that you have it. It'll go to your inbox.
Okay. Okay, we now move to information items, budget workshop. Ms. Anderson.
Chairman Manning, trustees, you should have a packet on your desk as well as the presentation that's up on the board. Caleb, can you move that to presentation mode? I can't see it. Thank you. I will try to be brief. As you know, we've been spending the last few weeks on negotiations and trying to address a lot of issues that came up through the legislation or the rules adopted through the legislature this season. So I will try to summarize and not too deeply. So please don't hesitate to ask questions if there's something that you need. Initially, I think it's important to see that we are projecting enrollment to go down again briefly, about 90 students based on rolling our existing enrollment forward. We are sitting still just slightly below 90% average daily attendance. This is huge and has a dramatic effect on our state funding as we are sitting below the state average. State average is 95. We have for a number of years, and we'll look at it in the next screen, been tracking at about 90%. So this is going to reflect a reduction in support units again this year, down to 231. The math is very similar when we calculate it based off projected enrollment and average daily attendance, as well off as protected status off this year's actual support units or ADA. So we're within about a half a point. And so we feel pretty confident that budgeting at 231 support units should be pretty close. The only thing that could hopefully raise it is if our best 28 weeks for this year, which we won't know until July, if that helps bump us just a few points. As you know, go back and do retro steps and lanes for the 24-25 year. This was based off additional funding that we received in July of last year that increased our ending fund balance. So we were able to do that I think we dispersed it in May, about the same time as, or immediately after, the legislature ruled to set minimums on the career ladder, both not only just for the R1 ring, but also the professional one, as well as the advanced professional rung. So that being said, we had used that additional resources to bring our staff up and make them whole for this year. And so we are looking at an additional negative or expending more than what we will receive in revenue this year. I'll go through this slightly or shortly in a minute as we move through. So for salary and benefits, both for certified, classified, and administration, we're generating about $476,000 additional revenue. just the placement on the new career ladder minimums is right around $2 million for certified staff. So as you see, we're about $1.5 million short. But we are looking at other ways that we can make up those differences. And I'll go through that a little bit as we move forward. The bottom of this particular screen does show the actual career ladder rungs, both R1. So the minimum will now be 50,252 statewide. I think the benefit is that it does set the standard for the state, but it has a huge impact on districts where this was always used as a funding model, not necessarily a salary schedule model. So in order to try to keep as many people that we can whole, we didn't just move everybody to those minimums. So we have proposed and worked with our negotiations team to come up with a salary schedule that we will bring forth as part of our master agreement. And that allows movement for the majority of the staff members to their benefits and helps us move to a structure more similar to the career ladder as we move forward. Get it? This is, I thought would be beneficial to see the support unit comparison over the last few years. If you start to the right, you'll see where the state was funding us during the COVID years, as we call them, based off our actual enrollment. And it made a significant difference in the number of support units in which we were funded. So the differences as you go from 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23, 23, 24 is when we went back to average daily attendance. We were held at 97% of our actual average daily attendance of the 22-23 year. That's when you see the big drop. Another important factor is if you look at the state-based support, that it hasn't kept up, even though it's increased, it hasn't kept up to the point of our staffing. When our supplemental levy failed, we did make some major adjustments for this last year, but if we continue to track the way we are, we're showing that our gap between what the state allocates for our general fund staffing and what we actually have, our gap is widening. So it's really important that we look forward over the next year and, really understand where our students are, if they're coming back, why their attendance, and then have to consider what we're going to do on our staffing levels. If we're really going to sit at 90% in attendance, and that's how the state is going to fund us, we may need to look at staffing according to a 90% attendance rate. So I think that the next year is going to provide an opportunity for us to really look at what our priorities are in the district. As we move forward, certified staff, in calculating, and I'll go through in the next one, how our projections for revenue as compared to this year. But we do want to bring forward some recommendations and show you the assumptions that I made in generating this budget. So for the certified staff, I'd like to recommend that we adopt a salary schedule that more closely reflects the career ladder and meets those minimum requirements for R1, P1, and Advanced Professional 1. On the classified and administrative staff, it's been some time since we've increased the base. Due to inflation, I feel it's important that we look at trying to add approximately 2% to the base of those salary schedules and then allow movement to a step down if the staff qualify. Our medical premiums did increase by 7.1%. It's actually, pretty reasonable compared to other districts that are outside of the state benefit trust. I do know of surrounding districts that have had 17%, at least double digits. That being said, with the requirement to hit the career ladder minimums, our benefits committee did recommend that we accept our medical plan as the same at a deductible of $1,500, not increase our deductible and pass the increase to our employees. So the employee contributions, which this district has taken those increases for, I know, at least the last 5 years. We have not passed that on to our employees. So they felt it was worthwhile or reasonable to increase that on a monthly basis, about $50 per employee for employee only, versus raising the deductible another $1,000 and then still increasing it by $20. So they felt the out-of-pocket benefit to an employee to have to make up that $1,000 was harder than paying an additional pre-tax. So that's our recommendation there. We've also are recommending that we only offer vision. We offer it as an option to an employee. And then if an employee wishes to continue to carry vision, that they will pay the premiums themselves. There is no increase. It's $7.88 per employee. But we find that the utilization is relatively low. Families have a tendency, or employees have a tendency to use it every couple of years. And where we've been paying it 100% for a number of years. If we make that optional and the district saves those premiums, we can provide it in I think, a more valuable benefit below. Our employee assistance plan that we currently offer, we've been paying $2.31 per employee per month, and we have under 5%, I believe, utilization. So we feel if we eliminate that, we no longer cover vision, we can then add a benefit referred to as Ally Health, which has a lot of the same mental health and psychiatric and actually additional services provided, as well as virtual urgent care at no cost to employees. So we feel that the cost, we would rather invest in that to provide services to a wider number of employees, and then also possibly be able to provide that to our substitutes, that would be, have more actual benefit to a larger number of our employees. And the benefit committee did agree and wish to pursue that option. So this, and I apologize for the small writing, I did print them. On the right hand, the 24-25 is the budget that you approved last year. Now, as you can see, this does not reflect the additional money that was allocated in July because we had already approved the budget. So we did actually finish our 23-24 year with a little over 11 million, which we then used to pay for our steps and lanes for the 24-25 year. So I'm estimating to finish this year right around 9 million, similar to last year. And then you'll notice there's a line now under the supplemental levy. We did pass the supplemental levy of 4.1 million, but the state, as you remember with House Bill 292, the state will front that money and we'll reduce our levy by that. So you'll see the other half, or the 2.5 million down under the revenue in lieu of taxes. So we'll receive that directly from the state. We will not levy that against our taxpayers. So, but our total revenues, you will see increase for that 4.1 million. Now, as you'll notice down below, our salaries benefits also increase significantly. And we will go, and I will give a much more detailed, complete budget next week. But currently, I'm anticipating that we will go into our fund balance by 740,000 approximately. So this is something that really the board would need to approve for us to be able to use part of our fund balance to move forward into the next year. We will still have at least 2 months, a little over 2 months operating to carry. And then we're also anticipating that the state may issue us some additional funds for the bond proceeds on the modernization money. And then we can generate some interest revenues and different things on that way. So this, I feel, is a conservative budget, but I'm also very sensitive to our average daily attendance and the risk that if our students don't come this fall, if we're down more than the 90 students that we're anticipating, that then we may need to look at it again approximately mid-year. We won't know that until our last reporting period in November, we will get those numbers for our February 15th payment again. So we'll watch it very closely and move forward. But I think the more that we all work together and really look at how we can utilize our plant facility monies, the modernization monies, that should help us free up our general fund. That I know Bernie will go over that. We will have a lot of big projects that we're pursuing that we're taking out of our modernization funds. That helps us save plant money, but it's been a really good timing between all the ESSER monies that we received and the benefits. And now, even though this modernization money is the only money we'll get for 10 years, we intend to use it very wisely and only on long-term major structural improvements, capital improvements.
So you'll see this. In order to make the feedback,
Question from the trustees. I know we've spent a lot of time the last few weeks talking about the budget and looking at the different variables and the funding streams and complexities surrounding the budget, complicated by the legislature's essentially unfunded mandates, forcing us to use the career ladder in a way that most districts haven't used it before. And so I just think it puts undue pressure on school districts, unfortunately. And so we're going to have to, like you say, work together, all of the schools, all the staff, all of our classified staff, all of our teachers, admin, everyone in the schools to, make sure that we get our kids to school, because that's how we are funded through average daily attendance. And so that's critical that we, the families get their kids to school as well. And not just so that we have the money we need, like they need to learn, right? And so that's critical. That's really why we're here, is to help our students grow and learn academically, socially, and beyond.
Chairman Manning, if I may.
Vice Chair Pacino.
Yes. I think it's interesting to note too that, luckily we have our fund balance, our general fund balance, and that one is, I know that last year, what did we say? It was $9,025,000 of our fund balance. And so we're going to use, I just need the public to be aware that we're going to dip into that general fund balance. So whenever we've got comments that state, oh, they've got all this money, that what are they doing with it? They're just saving it. And just like any person who is trying to make sure that, your bills are going to get paid, and if anything happens, you're good for at least 2 months. We've got our documents that are posted every month, and we, it's in our financials. And if you look at what we pay, it's approximately, $3,000 to $4,000 a month.
34 million.
Million, sorry, I wish it was 4,000, but yeah, 3 to 4 million a month. So what we've got left is just a safety net for 2 months in case anything happens. And that would be anything catastrophic, anything that we're just going to have to figure out how to do this. So luckily we're able to, and that's what we're going to vote on tonight. If it's okay, if the board agrees to be able to dip into this fund balance by that.
Trustee Pacino, I think we're going to vote next week on that.
Oh, are we, okay. So this is not, okay. So this is a proposed
Just
budget, but
information
this
only.
is,
Yeah, information only tonight.
okay. that this is our, okay, but that's $740,000 that we will be using from our fund balance to be able to meet the requirements that the state has set upon us without sending us extra money. And I know that it is due to our daily attendance, which used to be a different 93% mechanism that we were using, but, and it's just interesting. I just want to make sure that the public knows that. And that we are, very serious about where our money goes. And, we have that job to be able to make sure that we are duly doing our job about your taxpayer money. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions for Ms. Sanderson? Thank you for the update. Appreciate it. So yeah, next week we will have our budget hearing, which is the different kinds of public meetings, and that's an official kind of public meeting, is a budget hearing. And so we'll be finalizing that next Monday. Okay, plant facilities report, Mr. Carrera.
Here, continue on. I'll be here from the. Coringa, we were able to move forward, using the engineers and architects who market building on the valve. We project structural members, to try to find locate that place to be doing a mouth for the HVAC, so we can get the drawings put together. So we can go out to bid. So they will be updating the drawings and we'll be bid package together where we'll be able to go out and make sure we get a good accurate. 1502, still more in the move. Springfield Oil project. We've got the line dug from the street to the building. It's been very looking at the testing of the open have it done very quickly. Will be happening in the week. Once it gets tested, we make sure that that's holding, and we'll go do the first test for there, and then we'll test with the water test. Once that's done, then we'll be able to go into the classrooms, put the ceiling tiles back in, and start wrapping up, and then be able to start moving things from the old Canyon Springs. So we're anticipating within the next 2 weeks, our first phase of the move would be everything already. That was the first day. The majority of the rooms have been already taken care of as far as prepping those, ready, identify where it's going to be going to the new building, and everything else has been now. So it's really easy for this Wednesday for the movers come in and they were proposal for the move. District wide, we're still preparing for some of the cleaning. We're going through each of the schools and doing what we can. We're doing repairs, doing cleaning. We're also been working on the pump stations. This hot weather, we've been doing the best we can to keep all the pumps running and the water going. We'll continue to do that. And also something I have forgotten to put on the list was Jefferson Middle School. We're moving forward with the carpet replacement in that school. So we are almost done completely with the removal of the demo. They were covered out, so we're doing the banding and getting the floor prep for the carpet this week. All the done, all the bathrooms, that. So been the ongoing thing, but we still feel like we'll be able to do that for the first day of school. Okay. Questions from the trustees? Thanks for your work. Madam Clerk, do we have any patron input this evening? Okay, no one signed up for this evening for patron input. Sure. Vice Chair Pacina has some patron input for us.
Okay, and this is just a patron input from Dr. Matthew McDaniels. And he wrote a letter. And his concern, he wanted to express concern regarding, and I'm just going to summarize it. He expressed concern regarding this week's review of policy or procedure that requires all non-CDS students who reside within our district and plan to participate in high school sports under the IHSAA state eligibility rules to pay a significant fee to join our district's athletic program. And we do have it on our regular agenda. And it's in section 10, E. And one of the questions that he asked, and I don't know if anybody knows right now what the policy is that addresses the pay-to-play issue, the actual amount, the fees, and he'd like the opportunity to review it. But what he wanted to state is that there's a lot of non-district students who reside within the boundaries that play for a zone public high school team if their school does not offer a specific sport. And I know that we've spoken about, well, I'm not going to ad lib, I'm just going to read what it says on here. This rule was meant to ensure access and equity for all students, regardless of the type of school that they attend. So he goes on to say that the proposed fee poses an unnecessary barrier for many families and may unintentionally or perhaps intentionally discourage participation. And in some cases, these families may opt out entirely to sign up their kids for these high school sports, instead turning to club or recreational programs as they can afford them. So he goes on to say that in our district, many of our high school teams struggle to be able to remain competitive due to the limited participation of on some of the instability on part of some of the athletes, among other reasons. And then goes on to say that assigning an arbitrary dollar amount, $300 to $460 for participation, is confusing at best. Additional players on the team sport have minimal impact on the budget of the program, is what he's saying, and making this appear just an opportunist grab for revenue from students who have no other interscholastic choice. He goes on to say that regardless of how many kids play or participate, officials have to be paid, uniforms and coaches have to be provided for the team. So he is urging the board to consider the broader benefits of inclusive participation and improved competition. And then maybe the district should actually, when many teams in the district struggle to remain competitive, maybe we should turn to these local schools to identify positive additions to their teams to aid in on and off-field successes instead of setting a table of exclusivity. And so he goes on to say that he was a coach for the baseball team and stated that half of the freshman kids on the team were not from attending our school district. And, if they hadn't gone on or been on the team, we wouldn't have had a freshman team, which, as we all know, when you play, you get better. So he just respectfully urging us to ask why this proposed policy procedure and weigh it against the alternative of equitable and inclusive access to benefit Caldwell School District. And so he states how we've always stated how important athletics is in our school program and in the spirit of our personal philosophy. So I think that, when we get to that point, maybe we can discuss that.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Vice Chair Pacino. Appreciate it. Any other comments related to this patron input? Okay, seeing none. Let's move on to the regular agenda. We have CFEO recognition, so we are happy to have several people from CFEO here, and they have done so much for our community over a long period of time, for decades, and supported our kids, Caldwell kids. For those who don't know, the Caldwell Foundation for Educational Opportunity is a nonprofit that fundraises for kids, mostly high school kids, and creates scholarships and funding streams and mechanisms to allow them to travel and go to competitions and lots of scholarships, lots and lots of scholarships for our kids right here in Caldwell. And so they've done just a fabulous job. I think was it Bill Gigray that started the CFEO back in maybe the early 90s or something?
And
Daryl
Mr.
Dede?
Dede. Mhm.
Was it Dee Dee? Okay.
And Mr. Gray.
And Gigray.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, so this was this was, a visionary sort of thing. And so now CFEO, their executive director, Kathy O'Bannon, is stepping down after many 20-something years of long service, and several people on the boards, are retiring, including, Chuck Randolph and, Joan Van Schoik, I believe it's how it's pronounced. And so we wanted to recognize these three individuals for all the work that they have done for many decades for Caldwell kids. And Dr. French, is there anything you would want to add to that, or any of the
Oh.
trustees?
We do, Aaron Sullivan, Aaron is here, Aaron Smith, and then Josh Engler, and they are now the newly elected board, the CFEO leadership. So if they would come forward. Do you want to come up here? Come on. We are just very, very grateful for you. So
If I may say something, Chairman Manning?
Vice Chair Pacino.
Okay, so I just want to say CFEO is unique in the sense that all of these scholarships that are raised by the foundation go to only Caldwell School District kids. And that is huge it's a huge benefit for our kids. And a lot of them, the work that CFEO has done is, been able to talk to different universities or colleges. Correct me if I'm wrong, but to be able to continue that scholarship as a student continues their studies in the universities, correct? And so, so it doesn't just stop as soon as our kids leave, or get their graduation, their diploma in hand. It keeps going. And so, as a alum of Caldwell High School and Caldwell School District, it is just amazing. And we have such a gem in this school district with this foundation, and just the love that I feel for the foundation and the work they've done, and I just hate it that time makes people grow old. I'm not calling Chuck Randolph or Mr. Gigray old. Don't tell him that, but yeah. And if Mr. Hauge was here, no, we wouldn't even talk about him. But just that I'm just so happy and proud that they have been on the foundation for as long as they have and made it what it is. And we feel very confident that you folks that are taking over the lead are going to continue to do the same. But I don't know if I know that they're not here, but we do have some.
Say something first. I don't know.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, you wanted to say something first? We've got some gifts for those members that are retiring.
You got to be careful when you give the mic to Vice Chair Pacino.
No. Anything you'd like to say?
Anything you'd like to add? Yeah.
We we're thankful to be in the positions we are right now. We're just coming off the high of giving out a ton of scholarship money to students and graduation, and it's really our board is a group of really caring individuals who are put their grassroots effort out there to raise money and get these endowments going and the grants and all of that. And it's really, at times it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And it's nice that our students recognize that they have a very unique situation in our district. And I think it's a nice selling point also to our school district. And I've had the opportunity to visit with him about that. And we have way more going on than even they do within the district. So that was kind of an impressive little kudo. I thought that serves CFEO well. And we just look forward to continuing the partnership and taking care of the kids in this district and our teachers. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That was perfectly said.
Okay.
If you would just remain standing there. Okay.
Okay. So, I can't see in the audience very well, so I don't even know do we have any of our guests here today?
No, just.
Mr. Engler's here.
Mr. English here. Okay, thank you.
Well,
Yes,
For
I
the
see Mr.
second.
Engler.
yes,
For
okay.
this one.
Oh, so we're moving on to the next
Mhm,
agenda item.
mhm. Well, so if you could please, just give those
Yes.
gifts to the folks that retired,
Oh,
Miss
sorry,
Kathy
yes.
O'Bannon, Mr. Chuck Randolph, and my favorite teacher ever, and Miss Joan Van Choik. That would be awesome. Just let them know how much we appreciate it. And I hope maybe they're listening and they've heard this or they can see it on stream. Okay. Thank you.
We'll still
Thank you.
stay
Much
standing
appreciate
there.
it. Okay, so we are moving on to educator of influence recognition, Dr. French.
Chairman Manning, trustees, we want to recognize Josh Engler for being an educator of influence. So Mr. Engler does not work for the Caldwell School District. He works for Boise State. And he leads Trio Upward Bound. And we tried to give him this recognition at the last celebration with the teachers, but Mr. Engler had taken a group of students to the University of North Carolina to celebrate the graduation of another former student of Caldwell, and also to let those students know they belong in those places. And that's huge. His influence is huge. And if you walk to his room, look at the map and see where our kids go and what they bring back to their families and this community. And Josh is definitely an educator of influence. Trio Upward Bound is in other high schools around our area. We are the best. And I've heard that from the Trio Upward Bound staff at Boise State. And I'll credit Josh for that and the work and the students believe him that they can do this and that they belong. So we just want to recognize you for that.
And if I could say something, Trustee Manning, now that I have the microphone right here, okay. I just want to say, when my kids were in high school in Trio Upward Bound, it was really hard to have a lot, because we know we have a lot of Latino students in our school district, and it was really hard for parents to say, okay, my daughter can go to college, okay, my son can go to college, but only if it's TVCC or only if it's BSU, because there is no way that they're going to be going to University of Idaho. That's too far, and they don't need to be going that far. And it was this, this traditional thought of Latino parents said, okay, we'll let them fly a little bit, but not that far. And through the years, and like Dr. French said, you look at the map, we've got kids in New York City, we've got kids that are going to Vermont, we've got kids in Pennsylvania, and so it's not any small feat. It's huge because, there's a lot of trust that has to be built between the parents and Mr. Engler, the program, to be able to do that. So he does that. So thank you very much. And it says, in recognition of your dedication and service to the students of the Caldwell School District, Josh Engler, educator of influence.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Very, very much.
Yes.
Sure.
I would like to say something from the bottom. It has been the biggest honor of my career in my life to serve the students at Caldwell High School and students of Caldwell School District. I love the professionals I get to work with in every aspect. And so receiving this recognition from those who I care so much about means so much. And I do the work that I do because students are incredible, and they're remarkable, and they do incredible things. And so to be able to share that with them, to be a part of that journey has meant so much. It inspires me on a daily basis. So thank you for this. It means the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we move on to perhaps a less exciting topic. We're going to talk about calendars. Ms. Langen.
Mr. Engler, congratulations, well deserved. You are an inspiration, and I really truly mean that. So thank you for all you do in your service. Trustee Manning, Chairman Manning, trustees, I have before you sort of the timeline that we've experienced with all things calendar for the 26-27 school year. So on the first page, Caleb, if you wouldn't mind pulling that up, on the first page, it's a summary of our feedback responses that came out in early April, and then the number of responses of folks who actually voted on the options, and we'll get through that in a second. But before we begin that, pursuant to policy 2200, we have our calendar committee members. Mr. Wertz, who's in the audience, he's a member of that committee. Shauna Smith, who's our community member, she always does a great job. And so you'll notice that the committee is reflective of certified, classified, a community member CEA representation, and I serve as their facilitator. Caleb, if you wouldn't mind going up to the third slide. So trustees, this is a summary of our timeline. We had our opening meeting together as a group on April 2nd. From there, the committee reviewed the questionnaires on the 7th and 8th. We took a look together as a group, and then they provided feedback. From there, the Google form was formatted, translated, and went out to Caldwell School District as well as our family. So 2 separate ones because they have just a slight variation in the type of questions that we asked. That window was open, as you can see, from the 9th to the 18th. And then the committee got together on the 21st to review family input as well as staff feedback. The questions were pretty similar to what we typically ask. We usually hone our questions to things that people value. For example, the first day of school, the week within the first day would occur, what they would prefer about vacation, Thanksgiving, and winter break. Those are a couple of examples. In addition to that, this year, we asked specifically about and asked for their feedback about spring conferences. As you know, we needed to adjust spring conference to be in line with all of the districts in our valley for a variety of reasons. And with that, then that had a ripple effect on conference time, spring conferences, rather than having it afterward, it was before. So we wanted to ask for feedback specifically to that experience and what they would like. Going back to our timeline, once we reviewed the results, the committee took a couple of days. It's like the easiest, hardest job because you have all of these parameters and guidelines, and there really isn't a lot of wiggle room. But having said that, the committee really wanted to present for everyone's consideration a diverse type of calendar. But with that in mind, it's hard to be diverse when the riverbanks are pretty narrow. From there, we honed it down the committee dialed it down to two different options, options A and B. That eventually went out for voting from May 9th to the 16th, which brings me before you today. So in the next slide, Caleb, if you wouldn't mind, I wanted to just review with you the highlights from option A, and I've listed those for you. In option A, teachers would start on the 13th. You show how the number of days were spread out. One thing that influences the quarters is the request or the consideration or the hope, or I'm not sure what you'd like to call it, to have quarter two end before winter break. So that's kind of one of those riverbanks from the beginning of the year through winter break. So that's a reflection of that. In this case, you'll see that spring conferences in this option would take place midway through the third quarter rather than dovetailing spring break. It reflects the value of having a full week off at Thanksgiving. As I mentioned, the first semester ending before winter break, 2 weeks off at winter break, school ending before Memorial Day. In addition, one question that we ask is when you would like your students to start. Typically, and this year was not atypical, it fell in line with my experience in facilitating this committee, that our staff prefers to start on Wednesday, followed by Monday. And this is probably one of the questions where we differ, where families would prefer students to start on Monday, and then their second choice is Wednesday. So I wanted to point that out to you. In option B, Caleb, if you wouldn't mind. I'll highlight a few of the differences. Rather than starting on the 13th, teachers would start on the 11th. You can see how the days break down. In this option, conferences would take place 2 weeks prior to the end of first and third quarter. So it would be a bit of a switch up there. A commonality would be the first week off of Thanksgiving, semester ends before break, 2 weeks off at winter break. It was important to note that no school would be on the Friday before Easter, so that would be a 3-day weekend in this option. Again, school would end before Memorial Day, which is typical in our survey results that that's what folks value. And then on this particular one, students would start on Monday. To give you a visual of that, and I know it's tiny, I tried to fit it on 2 pages, or I tried to make it as big as I could, but it's a little, you need a magnifying glass, admittedly. If you take a look at option A, this just shows everything that I described in its format. I believe last time Trustee Robertson asked about this one, and so even though the structure of it's different, I moved the text from the side, which is what we typically have, like when we post it, to down below. I thought this one would be a little bit more visually appealing. And then it also gives you a key, if you'll notice. So there's something to reference when you're trying to figure out what all the days mean. In the visual, what I'd like to point out is that I highlighted Wednesdays as our PLC Wednesdays, and those are in orange. So their significance is that we're maintaining PLC Wednesdays in this calendar. And then you'll notice following suit is option B, with how the days line out. And then finally, to give you a comparison and a contrast, the last slide does a side-by-side of option A and option B. of what they have in common and what was different. So I tried to provide all the information in a variety of ways. When we received our results, on the last slide, you'll see that 52% of our family responders voted for A. Just short of 66% of staff voted for A as well. Chairman Manning, trustees, do you have any questions about or wonderings about all of this?
Any questions for Ms. Langen? Okay, so you're recommending option A.
Yes, Chairman Manning, trustees, on behalf of the calendar committee, they would like me to bring before you the consideration to adopt option A for the 26-27 school year.
Any questions from the trustees?
Chairman Manning,
Trustee Robertson?
Ms. Langen, it's not really a question as much as for the patrons that might be listening. Can you speak to the requirements by the state for how many days kids have to be in school, and that you were trying to fit that into this? If you just
Thank
bring-
you, Chairman Manning, Trustee Robertson. The things we take into consideration along with our parent and staff input include the required minimum hours. We're beyond that. We also try and make sure, well, we don't try, we do make sure that we have 171, for Caldwell School District, we have 171 student instruction days. And in Caldwell School District, we have 183 contract days for staff, certificated staff. So those are three factors: the number of instructional hours, the number of instructional days within Caldwell School District, and then the number of teacher contract days, along with all of balancing that with all the information that we receive from staff and families regarding their wants. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Ms. Langen, can you speak again to why the calendar committee is planning 2 years out versus one?
Thank you, Chairman Manning, trustees. You know, once upon a time, we operated with a 3-year rolling contract, calendar year. Then it became year by year. And so the value of having it 2 years out, is that it provides opportunity for our family and staff to plan. It provides them opportunity, hopefully, in addition with all of the front loading of our calendars, it gives them opportunity to plan events that they might be having in their family around our calendar, rather than planning events in their family and then finding out it contradicts our school calendar, and then sort of negotiating and navigating how to do that. So we're providing calendars 2 years out to be respectful to staff and families primarily, so they can have as much information as soon as possible as we look ahead for the next 2 years.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions from Ms. Langen?
Yeah, Chairman Manning.
Trustee Butler?
Ms. Langen, I wish, I'd like you to speak on the differences on the winter breaks. Sorry, I'm just looking at those now. So on option A, winter break starts just 2 days before Christmas instead of having that full week before Christmas, and then goes on till January 6th, it looks like.
Yep.
So it's 2 weeks, but it's a Wednesday to a Wednesday instead
Correct.
of Monday through Friday.
Correct. Thank you. Yes, that is a primary difference between option A and B. If you'll take, as Trustee Butler pointed out, students' last day in this calendar option is Tuesday, December 22nd. That would be a full day. And then on the 23rd, staff would have a non-directed day, which is like the day they use to prepare their report cards and get grades in and all the things. And then, as trustee Butler pointed out, then we come back that next Thursday, the 7th. In option B, students' last day, oh, I'm getting old, I can't read it. Whatever that one is in pink. Is that the 18th? Yep, that would be an early release day on Friday, the 18th. Then, as trustee Butler pointed out, we would go into winter break starting on the 21st. And then the beginning of the next quarter would be on the 5th. So yes, that is a distinct difference between option A and B.
And is that kind of the difference between that start day, having it start on Monday in August and versus that Wednesday?
Correct.
Versus that?
That would be one factor. Yep.
Sure. Okay. I see that and I kind of worry about attendance having to
Yeah.
begin for just those 2 days before the holiday break.
Yeah.
Winter break, so
I mean,
jumped out at me at this point, so.
thank you. Yeah, Chairman Manning, trustees, I'm the facilitator of the committee. I'm always speaking as Melissa Langen now. I was a little surprised that option A was the vote getter. I mean, I don't want to, it won the majority, I'll say that, simple majority. And what was interesting to me is that if you'll recall, a few years ago, we had a calendar where we had a late release going into the Christmas break and feedback. I don't know if I was at the district office then or not. I don't know. I don't remember. But anyway, I do remember that staff were interested in that year to have a break that gave them a little bit of lead time going into Christmas, getting last minute shopping done and all of those things. I had wondered curiously if that would have an influence on option A, but then as it turned out, that was the feedback from staff. So I was a little surprised by that one, given historical feedback.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments from Ms. Langen? Okay, so this is an action item. School calendar, do we have a motion on this agenda item?
Chairman Manning, I would like to make a motion to accept the district's or the committee's recommendation to adopt option B, right? Or which one are we? Option A, sorry, option A.
I had to lick myself.
The recommendation of option A.
Okay, motion by trustee Pacina. Do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Robertson, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Option A is the calendar.
Thank you, trustees.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to the master agreement for 2024-25 school year. Dr. French.
Chairman Manning, if I could interrupt, at this
Yeah,
time, I'd like
trustee
to
Butler.
recuse myself for this. If
Okay.
they're approving. Dr.
You
French is
are
giving me
recused.
a hold sign.
Oh, wait, one moment. Just wait and maybe you don't. Maybe you will, but. So Chairman Manning, trustees, this is in regards to last year's master contract, the 24-25 for the Jefferson Middle School extra duty pay. We revised the extra duty pay at Jefferson to be reflective of, so it was more in line with the elementary specialist extra duty pay. So it really impacts the Jefferson staff only. I just want to be clear of that. I don't know how trustee Butler feels, but the CEA took it to their members to ratify that change in the master contract. If you'll remember, we reopened it just to discuss that section. And this is, their members ratified it, and now it's coming to the board for your approval. And
Dr. French?
now,
Yeah.
Okay.
Quick question for you. So I think they were talking about this at negotiations. Did they ever figure out what to do with the is it the homeroom period?
Yes.
It's the beginning. How is that going to factor into the class periods of the day if a teacher covers for that first, is it 15 minutes or something?
Yes, so thank you for that question, Chairman Manning, trustees. It was agreed upon that a staff member would just track how many homerooms they cover. After they have covered 4 homerooms, they will submit that as a block of time. So they will be compensated for a block of time. Which, yes, yes. I hope that helps.
Okay, so
if
that,
you
like that
understand
one comp hour that would,
It would
okay,
be, yes. For their block, it would compensate them for an hour of time,
got it.
1/6 of the day of $140.
Okay, every penny counts.
Yes, it does.
Got it. Okay, any questions from the trustees? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the revised, addendum to the master agreement?
Chairman Manning, so this was just reopening the master agreement. Yes, yes, it's an addendum A. I apologize. That's how we went ahead and addressed it so that you could see it and the CEA members were aware as well. I apologize.
Okay, do we have a motion to reapprove the master agreement?
Chairman Manning, I'd like to make a motion to approve the master agreement for the 2024-2025 year request.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
And I will abstain.
Abstention is duly noted. Trustee Butler. Okay. Mixing it up on a Monday night. Okay. We move to item E, pay to play fees. Dr. French.
Yes, Chairman Manning, trustees, this was a request of the trustees to have, to consider this going into the 25-26 school year. So as you recall, in last year, when the supplemental levy did not pass, we implemented pay-to-play fees for Caldwell students, it was $100. And for non-Caldwell school district students, it was the table you see before you. So that's what we agreed upon for pay to play last year for the students coming from a charter school. And so we've had this discussion and we're asked to have this discussion to see how the board feels about moving forward with the pay to play for the coming year. Right, this is for the charter school student or a parochial school.
Or
not
homeschool
public.
or,
Homeschool, I'd have to look into. I need to double check Julie. Okay, thank you.
Chairman Manning, Dr. French, can you go over what these fees would cover? Was it just for bus fees or transportation, or what would these cover? What would these fees cover?
So Chairman Manning and Trustee Godina, actually, these fees were created probably back around 2018, and it was based on transportation, the cost of a coach, like to help with the stipend that we pay the coaches, and it was a percentage of that. Obviously, looking at what does it cost us to transport a student? What does it cost us to pay, to have a coach? And then we had, in talking about the facilities, so it was based on some factors, just looking at that and dividing what we spend by how many student athletes come out, and then how does that look, and what's the transportation cost. So there was some thought that went into that. This was pulled forward for last year just because the supplemental levy did not pass. And that's how it was first calculated, was what it cost for a student what it cost the school district to have those athletic teams from 2018. Okay.
Comments or questions from the trustees?
So,
No, go ahead.
okay.
Chair Pacino?
Chairman Manning, Dr. French, so I have a question. So before the school year, 20, okay, I gotta write this down just so I know where I'm at. 2020, when we lost the levy, 2023, 2024, before that, was there a pay to play fees?
Thank you. Chairman Manning, Vice Chair Pacina, and trustees. There was, and then in, I'd say probably 2022, 2021, in visiting with Mr. Halleck, asking if there was collection on these fees. And we were informed that the fees had not been collected. So the question was, should we continue to, to pursue this, or is this something that should be rescinded? It was in the policy for, I'll say, dual enrollment. It fell under that policy, and that was, so the pay to play was rescinded because it wasn't being enforced, and then that's why we had it in our history. So it was so recent. So then when the supplemental levy didn't pass, we were able to just pull it back forward and say, for this last year, we would charge these fees.
Okay.
It is not in a policy. It was for that emergency moment, but is it something that we should pursue?
Okay.
Trustees, I want you to know, so we look around the area to see who charges fees. And they vary. Some school districts do not charge any fees for athletics. Some, Westdata, if you go to their site, it's $110. There might be some other fees that they charge that aren't listed. I don't know. We're looking into that. And some school districts do not provide busing. So athletes have to find their way to the games. And that may be, they don't charge a fee, but you have to get yourself to the game. Something to consider. I did reach out to Mr. Halleck, but he was probably not available. And I am happy to continue to pursue that as well.
Okay, trustee Beller, do you have a question?
I guess some comments. I guess the important thing is that this is not new, that this has been part of policy procedure for years. Whether it was enforced is a different question, but it has been there. It was there last year, and like Dr. French said, it's been around since at least 2018. And I just feel like for me, most of you know my stance. I think every athlete should pay to play. I don't think it should be free for everyone. I think everybody needs to have some kind of buy-in. If teams can create boosters and be able to pay for themselves, then great. But in the meantime, that's not the case. I don't understand why it's a big deal when there's no other place that has free athletics until you get to schools, which don't fund it, and yet it's almost a requirement for any public school. And so it's like, well, if the legislature doesn't find that it's important to fund, then we've got to find some other ways to fund it. So I guess that's my stance on, I think every athlete should have some sort of buy-in. Doesn't have to be the $100 that we charged last year, but some kind of buy-in to it. We charge students in other activities for trips and for field trips and activities and things that they do. I don't understand why we aren't charging for athletics that do the same thing and use the same buses. To this point, and to the point that we got the email about, if those charter schools would like to share their funding with us for athletics, then yeah, maybe we don't need to charge their athletes to play with our athletes. But until that happens, no, we have to. To me, that's just part of being that community is sharing that thing. So just because we have it doesn't mean everybody else gets to play for free. Every field is full around this school district on Saturdays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and every other night of the week. And I don't, and everybody else charges. My kids play recreation sports and they pay more for those recreation sports than we charge for school sports. And they're not provided anything. There's no transportation. That's just playing on Saturdays. So I am totally fine and in support of these fees. The dollar amount, I don't necessarily have an opinion on, but I do think that we should be charging something, so.
I think that, thank you, trustee Butler. I think part of the original calculus was, thinking about, if a charter school kid who, they certain monies are provided for them. And charter schools choose or not choose to have or not have certain activities. And so, those are choices they make. We talk about choice a lot. Those are choices they make not to have a lot of the school sports and things like that. And we do have other funding streams that are coming from the legislature, that help fund kids going to private schools and charter schools and homeschool kids. And I am of the mindset that I'm really torn on this. So I understand why part of the reason we originally did it was to encourage, the other schools out there. If you're gonna, benefit from the public schools, that, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Like, be part of the team, pay your fair share. And we realize decisions have to be made. And, if a charter school kid, for example, chooses to want to play for a public school sports program, I'm of the mindset that the charter school should, help pay for those fees, or through those other funding mechanisms that the legislature has provided to allow for students to pay for those fees. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Other comments, questions? Trustee Robertson.
So this particular piece that we're looking at is for students from public charter or non-public. But do we have a fee schedule for our for our Caldwell School District students currently? I can't remember.
We only had one because.
Yeah, we only had one because of the levy failure, and there was a correct. And 80% of the students didn't pay it anyways. George Crookham paid for 80% of the fees. So that's there's something to be said for that as well. If our kids are having difficulties paying the fees, and that's only $100 versus some of these fees are $200, $300, $400. I don't know. I'm absolutely torn on this one. Trustee Godina, thoughts?
I think the fees are a little high myself. I think they should be able, they should pay something. They have those funds for those private schools, and otherwise, I think it's only fair for them to have to pay to play here at Caldwell. I don't think the fee, I think the fees are a little high, but those are my thoughts.
Trustee Pacino.
Yes, trustee Manning. I have a question, I'd like to know, and maybe Dr. McDaniels knows, but like which schools are athletes coming from, possibly? And, and would there be a chance to sit down and speak with, the powers that be, the administrations from those schools and come up with some type of a plan? I'm just throwing things out there. I just thought about this right now, because I know the funding mechanism is in that, they get so much money for, education and all that needs to be. And now that we're going to see this pinch with the possibility of the school vouchers exploding and us getting less money. But and I think about the schools that are surrounding us. some of these public charter schools, I don't know if the families have more money or less money. I feel like, sometimes we are a community, whether we are different schools, and I know that, I would never be rich because I'd just be giving it away to people that have no money. But anyways, to me, it's just, I'm hoping that that one kid that wants to play soccer or that one kid that wants to play football, but he's in a different school, not because of, his parents have money and they can put him in a different school, but for other reasons, that he would have an opportunity to play. Or maybe we could think about possibly some of these kids, if we could still have some type of a scholarship program, if they fill out an application and, if it's going to be really hard for them to play or to pay, or I don't know. I'm just trying to think of different ideas so that some of these, we have talked about how important sports is for a lot of our students, and that's what they will, the reason they come to school, because it's the only place they feel like a team. But those are just some options that I'm just thinking about. And and like I said, it is costly, and we do have to. We know how much transportation is how expensive it is, and it's going to go up higher. I do know that, but I'm just thinking, yeah, about community.
Comments or questions from the trustees?
Chairman Manning, I just had another thought that, we've had some meetings, especially talking about facilities and things of that nature. And I guess for me, I can't in good conscience go to the public and ask for money for new tennis courts or a new softball field or a new track or without us doing everything that we can first. And I think charging small fees for athletics is a very small way that we can show and in good faith to the public that we are doing everything that we can to maintain what we have and to be responsible stewards of their money, of the taxpayer money and funds, and trying to put on good programs as well as we can. So, I'm definitely a huge proponent of student athletes. I was in high school. I paid fees 25 years ago. So again, I don't even know why we're still having this conversation. And I'm a parent to student athletes, and we pay all the fees. And it just seems, as a parent, as I've coached for many years, it just seems that unfortunately, when it comes to athletics, there's always money. Parents always find a way to support their kids and put it to athletics. They might not be willing to buy them a book, but they'll buy them new cleats. They'll be willing to pay for a goal, but not for something else that they need, which is really heartbreaking to see that and not the focus on the education side of it. And so it's just a small token of being good stewards with what we're in charge of.
Chairman Manning, could we maybe still continue to discuss maybe the prices, the amounts, and just, yeah, because I know that some kids may not be able to.
Could form a committee, and I vote you as chair of the committee.
Okay.
Or we could decide right now, like, let's cut them in half or something, like, reduce all the fees. Instead of paying $460, you pay $230 for the high school cut sports, and then.
Chairman Manning, I think we'd need some input from maybe Mr. Halleck on how much
But is he here at the meeting? I'm just joking.
he is in spirit.
Is he here?
He's online.
Oh, he's online.
I don't know. I'm just joking. Who knows?
I think for myself, I'd like to hear something from Mr. Halleck and maybe has some input that we don't know. Maybe 460 is just getting us by. I mean, we're not here to make money. We're just here to support our community and our students. So I'd like to, I mean, if we can make that happen.
I mean, we could table, we are meeting next Monday, for example.
Mm-hmm.
We could, it is a budget hearing, it's kind of segues, perhaps, I don't know.
Dr. French, is Mr. Halleck going to be available next week?
Well, I will reach out to him. I'll send him a text, and then if not, we can bring it in July. So we don't have to have, honestly, we don't have to have an answer by budget. No. This is, no. Yeah, Cheryl budgets, we just need it in order for students to know. And soccer and volleyball start in August. So I'll reach out to John, and then we'll also look for other fees that what other schools are charging, and then look at transportation, because I think that's where we probably spend the most money is on transportation, because we do transport our students. Otherwise, I don't think. Well, one, we don't want them on the road all driving to Mountain Home.
Yeah, I know.
We'd rather drive them there. So that's probably our biggest cost, but we can look at that. I'm happy to do it. I'll just take back what you would like, and we'll ask John to be a part.
You know, I'm
of it.
going to say it's probably, he probably sharpened his pencil and he's pretty close right now. So, but I'd just like to hear it from Mr. Halleck.
Okay, so
Mr. Chairman, I just had a thought.
by trustee Butler.
And maybe we should just wait on the whole thing of possibly splitting the difference and saying, you know, whether we approve the idea of fees, and then at a later date, we can decide on what the fees would actually be. But if the board would rather wait and see what it all is together, I understand that too.
Yeah, I'm open to a motion. If somebody wants to make a motion to table it, prove it as is, partially tweak it, change it, flex it, bop it, whatever you want to do to it.
Chairman Manny, I'd like to make a motion to table this action for the time being.
Okay, we've got a motion by Vice Chair Patino.
Second.
Second by trustee Godina. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay. We move forward. F, SRO contract with the Caldwell Police Department, Dr. French.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Manning, trustees. When you look on the agenda item, you're going to see an initial proposal contract. So I uploaded the initial proposal, and then working with the city attorney, our attorney, just looking at language on the initial proposal. And I heard back from the city today and our attorney today. So I also uploaded the Caldwell School District SRO agreement. It should have the date of today's date for today. And that is the city has agreed to those changes, and our attorney has agreed to those changes. So the Caldwell School District SRO agreement that's dated today's date is the SRO agreement that I'm bringing before you. You can compare the initial to the new one. The initial one, we just wanted to make sure we had really good boundaries when it comes to student information and access to student information. And the city was very understanding about why that's so important to us. And that's the biggest difference between the initial and the new one is the access to student information. It's
Talk about that for a minute, Dr. French.
Sure. So student information is parental rights. They have the right to let us know whether or not they want directory information, their child's directory information shared. So that's very important to us. We feel that directory information is important for an SRO to have access to. We do feel it's also important that we protect information such as if a student has has an individual education plan, IEP. Not everyone needs to know what's in that IEP. So we want to make sure that we're addressing that you can, there's access to what you need, but then we make sure that it's on a need to know for some of that. It's very sensitive information. Does that make sense? That's where we had the conversation via email, and the city then rewrote it to say it will be directory information. And then if they needed additional, they would get that from the building principal. So if there's something that would be helpful in an investigation, they can request that on a need to know. Does that answer your question ever? Did that answer your question, Chairman?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's good clarification, because you need to think about, we recently had the, which law enforcement agency was it? Was it Department of Homeland Security?
Oh, yes, it was.
Department of Homeland Security they asked the Caldwell Police Department through their SROs to check with their SROs about specific students that they had that they wanted information about, because they were checking on their welfare, because they had deported their parents under the old presidential administration. And so the new sheriff in town they were going to check up on the welfare to make sure that these children were doing fine and so on and so forth, and were sort of a backdoor approach, really, like asking the police department, through the SRO, asking through the SROs, through the police, however you want to say that, to, find access to our student information systems so they could somehow determine, more information about addresses and location and contact information for these students who had parents who were deported previously. So things like that, yeah, I think that we need to be careful of, and so cautious about.
And Chairman and trustees, I do want to, I apologize. On the indemnification, I did reach out to Mr. Kloss, who's the city attorney, and just ask if he would add language so that in the indemnification portion, which is almost the very last page, right before the signature page, that they also add that the Caldwell Police Department would indemnify the school district. So if that we're both indemnified. So if a decision that we make or an action we take is negative, the Caldwell Police would be protected by, if they had nothing to do with that. I'm trying to explain something. I really not doing a very good job, but also if the police did something, that we would be indemnified, right? But we're working together. He is willing to look, he was willing to look into that if that should change. Right now, our attorney has agreed that this looks really good and that it's fine. But if Mr. Cross changes that, it would be just a brief notice saying that we would also be indemnified if a decision or action was taken by Caldwell Police that might bring us into a tort claim and had nothing to do with it. That makes sense.
Dr. French, I wonder if we might, is there any harm in putting this off a week so that we can get that language, so before we approve it, versus, well, we're hoping at the very end we can agree on a couple things, like if, like the solid contract, this is the language, and that's what we approve of.
Absolutely. But I guess, really, I'm just so happy to have this in front of you. Yeah, that's my.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will have to, hopefully I'll hear from him tomorrow, but we do need to get it approved because the part of the state grant, she needs to have this before July 1.
Okay.
That's why I feel a little,
Mhm.
let's get her done. Yes, I'm happy to do that. I am happy though to have this in front of you, and they've been very generous, and I've appreciated working with city police. And
Generous is a flexible term. Would you mind reviewing speaking of generous, how generous they are, would you mind reviewing the fees over the next 3 years? That was in one of the original emails, I think that,
Or
was that in the, actual document that we looked at. I can't remember.
Chairman Manning, trustees, so for the grant, there were fees listed. On the agenda tonight, you can see the breakdown. It's called SRO contracts. And
Yeah,
it's
that's where
the
it
fee
was.
schedule.
Yeah, can you just talk about that, like what it is? Because it does increase.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So based on projections going forward over the next 3 years, we anticipate paying around 90,000 this next year for an officer. And then in 26, 27, around 99.5. And then in 27, 28, 108, 100,800.
108,000.
Well, no, it's 100,000. Oh, it's 100. I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses. I leaned back. I thought I was doing really well. But yes,
I
so
feel
you
your
do
pain.
see an increase. Dollars.
Every year.
So, and the contract that is before you is a year contract. It is not a multi-year contract as per recommendation from our attorney to just enter into a 1 year so that the board can see where you're at in a year before you commit to a multi-year. You don't know what will happen federally or state. So the contract that is dated today just has it for 1 year only.
I suppose the same argument could be used next year. Like, okay, do we sign a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year, or more? You know, because there are these variables out there that we can't control. Like we can't control the legislature, we can't control Congress or other funding streams. So I mean, that was the sticking point with our attorney was, not committing to a multi-year contract. But it's not cheap, and I want the public to understand that when I first got on the board 10 years ago, we were paying, I don't know, 60,000. I'm just riffing here, ish per year for SROs. And now in 3 years from now, we're going to be paying 110,000. And they're not even here all the time. They're here in our schools 75, 80% of the time. They're gone for trainings and things like that. And so, there are pros and cons. I love having the Caldwell PD with us when they're with us. I don't know. I'm just spitballing it here. Other comments or questions about the SRO contract with the Caldwell Police Department?
My understanding is we'll table this and revisit it next Monday. Oh,
I will take a motion to
Okay.
table if that's the case.
Chairman Manning,
If the board want to do that.
I move to table the SRO contract with the Caldwell Police Department at this time.
Trustee Butler with a motion. Do we have a second? Trustee Robertson, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll table it till next Monday. Next item G, naming and renaming of schools. Dr. French.
Yep, thank you, Chairman Manning, trustees. So before you this evening as a recommendation to rename the building at 1502 Fillmore Street to Canyon Springs High School, as requested by Canyon Springs High School Administration. We'd also ask you to consider naming the building, this one that we're in. We call it 107 Poplar Street, or the IT building,
Fine name.
or the PD Center. So we're asking to consider naming this building. And then we're asking for a consideration in thinking about or renaming the building at 1200 Grant Street. It's been Lincoln Elementary School since the 1940s. I'm happy with Lincoln Elementary School, but I do feel that the board needs to have that discussion, as we consider those three buildings.
Comments or questions about renaming? If you had a chance to look at the policy, I don't know, addresses the situations that we're in per se, like, sorry, I'm having to pull up my forms. Oh, here it is, school facilities. So it talks about, The naming of, or at the top, the naming or renaming of a school or facility may occur under the following circumstances. When a new school is built, 2.1, 2.2, when the two or more schools have the same name, when a new facility is built to replace an existing facility, which will be closed. I don't know that any of these schools, buildings fall into that category, so I don't know if we need to revise the policy first, if we suspend the policy for a period of time and say, okay, we're going to do what we want. Let's just do what's right. And then, on the back end, let's throw it to the policy committee to fix it this fall. So I don't know if you guys have any comments about that. I mean, the policy could be cleaned up a little bit. It talks a lot about schools, some about facilities, but I'm just looking, my brain's looking like parallel structure and these different things. Like when you talk about a school name, we have different things that may be named besides just a school. Maybe you name, like our previous building, we named the boardroom was named, or there may be, there's the Moak Strong track facility at Caldwell High, for example. I don't know if there's many more facilities. Maybe you could name an auditorium after somebody. So it's more than just a school. It could be a facility, and I interpret that word facility as something like, a boardroom, an auditorium. It's sort of a facility, a piece of a school is how I sort of interpret that.
I just want to make a comment, Chairman Manning.
Vice Chair Pacino.
3.5, just need to make it clear that your kids can't propose your name to be on anything, okay? Just want to make that
Yeah.
clear. Thank you.
That's true. Thank you. Well taken. Until I'm dead. I think that's mentioned there
Yeah.
somewhere. Once I'm dead, they can perhaps do that.
You donate a lot.
It's kind of, I
renaming.
think it's
What do
an
you think?
exciting time to name some of the buildings, but, I was thinking maybe Canyon Springs, but we still need to do, I don't know, how do they feel? Do they want to keep their name? Do they want to, yeah, they'd want to keep their name, yeah. And I was thinking that would prevent us from doing stationary, but we do have to change the address, so we still have to do stationary, but, okay.
And is there a policy for unnaming a school, a building? I mean, really, like I don't see it in here. Like, what if poor Canyon Springs High School? We are going to unname that school, and it's going to be left naked, nothing. It's going to have no name. Is that fair? The building.
Oh.
Is that fair to that
Yeah,
building?
it should be.
Well, we're in a building that has no name. As Dr. French was just
And is
explaining.
that fair? Is that fair?
I guess to Chairman Manning, I guess for me, that the idea that the school would follow the students. So therefore, if the students are moving to a new building, then they would carry on that name. So Canyon Springs is wherever the students go. So with that being said, I would say that would fall under 2.2, where we would then have two buildings that would have the same name. We would have an old Canyon Springs and we would have a new Canyon Springs.
Kind of like the old Washington and the new Washington, in a sense. Yeah.
And
Van Buren.
in terms of Lincoln and the building to be not named or
With no
whatever we
name.
want to call it now, the one that we're in, that may take a formal committee to do that.
So we can break this into 5 or 6 different motions, however you want to do this, or not.
Let's table it.
I mean,
Chairman
we
Mann.
could. I mean, we could. We could table it until next week. Let it percolate for a little while.
Comment.
Trustee Robertson.
Okay, so I agree with what Trustee Butler was just saying. I think that with Canyon Springs in particular, the name goes with the kids, and that's for simplicity's sake. And being that I have emotional ties to Lincoln, I would love to see Lincoln just remain as Lincoln. whether it's Lincoln Admin Building or something like that. And also, that way, if anybody spent any time in this town and you say, go to the new district office, it's at the Lincoln School, they know where it is. I mean, because it's been there forever. Now, the quandary would be, what do you name this building? We could name it after Caleb.
Sure, we could.
Sure, we can.
Sure.
I mean, I think coming up for a name for this building is the toughest out of those three. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
What say ye?
Chairman Manning, I'm
Right.
going to make a recommendation that we put together a committee
Mhm.
to consider the name of this building.
Mm.
I also agree with Trustee Butler that the Canyon Springs students are moving, just like we moved Washington to the new Washington, Canyon is moving to a new building. And that name followed that group. So it would be, a precedent has already been set for Van Buren and Washington when they move to a new facility. Or, yeah. And then for Lincoln, I also agree with Trustee Robertson. It is a landmark location. And if you've been there if you've been in Caldwell for some time, since the 1940s,
Not everybody's that old.
no, you know, that it's, right now, Jessica has out on the marquee, it has the Lincoln Lions, but on the marquee, it says the administrative offices.
Mhm.
So we do have recognition from the street that that's where we're located. I also say in Ms. Sanderson's behalf, it is quite a feat to work with the state to change locations and building names, and we really, the cleaner, the better,
Mhm.
working with the
Okay.
State Department.
In that vein of thought, as far as renaming, I know we've talked a little bit about, well, maybe I just have talked to some of you about signage, and I think I saw it on the plant facilities report from Mr. Carrera. Is he here still? No. And I've talked to Dr. French and Ms. Watts about the signage for this building. Sometimes when I've come in for a board meeting, like tonight, for example, the lights were off in the hall, and there's not real good signage like on the outside of the building. Like, okay, is this the right place? Is there a board meeting at this place? Like, so just to facilitate an ease of access for the public, maybe some sort of signage could be put on the exterior of this building, along with the new name, whatever that is, and then also some interior signage that lets people know, this is the boardroom. It's also sort of the PD room. It's also the meeting room. Like, what do we call that? How do we just create a place, a space for ease of use, ease of access for the public and staff over time? I don't know.
Chairman Manning, I'd add one more thing, and just lights in that parking lot, because it's pretty spooky in the winter. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Chairman Manning,
Trustee Butler.
I move to rename 1502 Fillmore to Canyon Springs, including what is also Indian Creek Academy. Those both buildings would be all included.
So you're going to unname Indian Creek Academy?
Well, actually, this building was Indian Creek Academy years ago too. So,
Or was it
Night
the old
school.
Canyon Springs? Or
Night school.
I think they
Are
we even Okay.
sure what each building was called?
Well, this is actually health and welfare back in the day.
Was it really?
let's not go too far back.
Yeah.
It was fishing game, really?
Game.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we have a motion to rename 1502 Fillmore to call it Canyon Springs,
High school. Okay.
Canyon Springs High School.
Correct.
Second.
Trustee Gudina, any further discussion? So is it gonna be like, are we gonna so we're not gonna, I guess we're gonna nix the name Indian Creek Academy. I mean, I guess.
Was that,
so
is there
wait for
signage
years.
on the outside of that? Oh, was there signage? I didn't even know. Is there? Okay. Uh-huh. Okay.
That became Canyon
Mhm.
Springs.
Yeah.
So no longer the Daryl Didi, school district building, I guess. No offense, Daryl. You were great.
Mhm.
You've been great.
Okay.
Um,
So we vote?
Thanks for that caveat.
Canyon Springs High School.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of renaming the school of the 1502 Fillmore, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay? Okay, ayes have it. Any other motions regarding this topic?
Chairman Manning,
Trustee Robertson?
I would like to move that we continue with the name Lincoln on the building at 1200 Grant Street.
Okay, we have a motion.
So would it be, can we deliberate before? I know that we can.
We have a second.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. We can.
Okay, we don't have a
discuss it
second,
then.
so I guess you can talk about it. You can.
Okay, I just want to say, so to make it clean, what sounds good? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to rush it, but would it be like Lincoln Administration Building?
I might get confused, like if it's the Caldwell, like what's district is Lincoln?
It will probably, I would, well,
I mean,
I would recommend
Uh-huh.
for future support of Caldwell School District to leave it as Lincoln,
Mhm.
as is.
Lincoln
Lincoln.
Building.
Lincoln, just Lincoln Elementary. We still have lots of little kids. Like the
Uh-huh.
whole bottom floor is full of
Wanna
young.
keep elementary on there?
Or Lincoln School.
Does it just say Lincoln School?
It's Lincoln
Yeah.
School, because it's a school.
Yeah. Well, can we just like, get a committee just to get some thoughts and bounce around some ideas? I mean, I want it to say Lincoln, but to say the right thing.
Happy to do that. And the neighbor across the street would love to serve on that committee.
Oh, Mr. Carpenter? Okay.
So do
Okay,
I
I'll
need to
take any-
rescind my motion?
I'll take you're withdrawing your motion?
Well, that's why I said, do I have to, do I need to, or?
Can you amend it?
No one seconded it, so I think it died. I'm so sorry.
Dr. Roberts.
6 months, we can rename it though.
To the heart.
Any
Mr.
further
Chairman.
motions? Trustee Butler.
I move that we convene a committee for the renaming or naming of what is currently Lincoln Elementary School and for whatever building we're in.
107 Poplar.
There you go, Poplar.
Mhm.
So for
Wrap
those
it up.
two facilities,
Gonna form a committee. Okay.
which
Second.
is, which is following the policy for renaming.
Okay. Second.
Way to go, Trustee Butler. Vice Chair Pacino with a second. Do we have a third? Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries.
I know.
Then you have to pay for your signage.
You gotta have fun, you know,
Yeah.
because why are we here?
SB resolutions.
Okay, ISBA resolution for the 2026 legislative priorities. So as you are well aware, you guys have been on the board for a while, and the trustees in the various school districts help set the legislative priorities for the Idaho School Boards Association and their lobbying team that looks to support and promote public schools across the state of Idaho. And so ISBA resolutions, we've run a couple in the recent past about a couple of different topics. And there is a deadline. I think is it July 31st or something?
July 31st.
July 31st is the deadline for accepting new resolutions. So what say ye?
So just kind of, Chairman Manny, are you asking just to start thinking about it so that we can?
I
There's-
suppose probably we should start thinking about it because we do have a month and a half, or
Okay.
actually almost 2 months.
I had a question for Madam Clerk. If, in the red part at the bottom, it says, please note, I will be out of the office June 30th through August 1st and will be away from emails during that time. So is that a note from you or is that a note from Quinn Perry? Is that? So who's I will be out of the office? Who's I?
Since it says IDS.
Was it Quinn? Was it?
We will form a
Melissa?
committee so that Jessica can research that topic.
I'm sure that you
We have a motion
copied
to
and
form a
pasted.
committee.
Quinn, okay, thank you. That way if we have any questions, we can. read
Do
them
not
before
talk to
June
Quinn.
30th.
Yeah.
Before June 30th, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, so, I think we are moving on to Dr. French, unless you had something else you wanted to say on this topic.
Action item? ISBA resolutions for 22.
I suppose the action could be no action as well. I mean, that's just an option, right?
Yeah.
It could be an action item if we wanted it to be, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay,
So,
just information.
okay.
Okay.
Chairman Manning and trustees, so
Oh.
tonight,
My apologies. We have
Future agenda items. Yes, item
I'm so sorry.
E. Thank you.
Okay, so,
Yeah, I guess it should be I technically.
HI, oh yeah, E. Oh, it's
Okay.
E on mine. Okay. I just wanted to, if we could add a future agenda item, whether it's, this next week or, but my idea, I talked with Mr. Butler or trustee Butler about, opening up the discussion for our driver's education and trying to get that ramped up and get it going again. I just believe that, I think we should have a discussion about that. I believe it's really needed in our community. So if we could have it as an agenda item, whether it's June or whether we do it at our
I or,
July or our retreat. Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, yeah, I think that would be a valuable conversation. 'Cause I do think the driver's ed program is invaluable for our kids, and I realize we need to retool some things and engage some more people. We need drivers. We need somebody to run the program. And it has been a challenging thing the last couple of years. I do think the benefit to our kids is profound. And so, I mean, I realize as well, we do have 5 cars that we are paying for to the beat of about 20,000 a year. So we are leasing and we are paying that, and we're not recouping that money, which we've talked about recently. And so I think we do want to recoup that money. And how we do that, I guess is, we're going to have to, I would like to see us revamp our driver's ed program and work on that. And so appreciate your guys' comments. Any other items for consideration as far as future agenda items?
Chairman Manning, a few months ago, I asked for somebody to come in and talk about, from the Labor Department, about somebody coming in and talking about, and I can't even remember what it was, jobs. Yeah, it was, job training and all that. I'm not sure if that
Did you
ever.
talk to somebody specifically? It seemed like you had talked to somebody or
I
something.
did actually, and she does training here. I think she even comes to the welding shop and all that. And the CTE, the CTE building, the one that Trish went to. But I'm not sure if that ever,
yeah, you think you,
yeah,
we can get that on the. agenda.
okay,
I apologize.
that's okay. And it was Lisa from the Labor Department.
Okay.
Yeah,
In the topic,
and it was boy, I can't even remember what it was. It was
Because I think it doesn't.
we were trying to get our kids out to
oh,
Like fairs, career fairs?
not career. They were going to go on the job training.
internships.
Internships. I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the word. Yeah, internships. And she has resources for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other person who does that as well is Paula Keller from the Idaho Business for Education. She's been working to promote internships, apprenticeships as well.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
we,
I think that'd
yes,
be
and maybe we could look at July, even at the retreat.
yeah, okay.
Because it's quite it could be quite a discussion.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good. And I did speak to her and she was all for it and she
Okay.
does it.
Mhm.
She,
Do
she
you have her
likes it.
contact by chance?
I do, yes.
Okay. Then you
yeah.
share that.
Okay.
Thank you. The other thing I would say, the retreat, I did visit with, for those of you who may not know, Stephanie Meyer from IEA facilitated the negotiations and is very, very helpful. She is willing to come and share with the board, what does interest-based bargaining, what is that? So that the board has a better understanding of when we talk about IBB. So she was willing to, if you would consider having her just come and share for about a half hour to 40 minutes on the negotiation process that we did today, this year. But something to think about, that would be July retreat. Okay. All righty.
Sounds good to me. You guys have any preferences there, but that would be good, I think.
Okay.
Any other future agenda items? Okay, policy development and adoption, Dr. French.
Yep, Chairman Manning, trustees. So this evening, we just have second and final reading. Policy 3220, student use of school buildings, equal access. Policy 3290, sexual harassment, intimidation of students. Policy 3500, student health screenings, which has been revised. And then policy 5470, leaves of absence, military leave, which has been revised.
Okay, any comments or questions from the trustees about the second and final reading for these four policies? Okay, we'll take a motion to approve. Seeking a motion.
Chairman Manning, I would like to make a motion to approve second and final reading of policy 3220, policy 3290, policy 3500, and policy 5470.
Okay, Vice Chair Pacino with the motion. Do we have a second? Second. Trustee Butler with a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was mixing it up there. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okie dokie. We are going to move into executive session. Vice Chair Pacino.
Okay, Chairman Manning, I'd like to make a motion to go and enter into executive session per Idaho Code 74-206 1B to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, individual agent, or public school student. I, to engage in communications with a representative of the public agency's risk manager or insurance provider to discuss the adjustment of a pending claim or prevention of a claim imminently likely to be filed. The mere presence of a representative of the public agency's risk manager or insurance provider at an executive session does not satisfy this requirement. J, to consider labor contract matters authorized under section 74-206A, L, A, and B, Idaho Code.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Pacino. Do we have a second? Trustee Robertson, do we have, with a second, do we have any further discussion? All those in favor of entering into executive session do not vote because we were going to take a roll call. Ms. Watts.
Yes. Chair Marisol Bacina?
Yes.
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 We are. We're coming out of executive session.
Okay, we're coming out of executive session. Vice Chair Pacino, do you want to give us?
Yes. Okay. So after listening to the information provided during executive session, our decision regarding Idaho Code 74-206 1 to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, individual agent or public school student. After receiving information from the district office, I make a motion to rescind the offer for CTE director and eliminate the position for CTE director.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Pacina. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Chairman Manning, if I could.
Trustee Butler.
I think this is one that that is very heavy-hearted, that, there are times that we have to make decisions that we don't like. And unfortunately, the legislature has kind of cornered us into eliminating positions and moving things around at a last-minute notice when they decide to change our budgets, 2 months before a new school year. And so it's just, it's really sad to have to make some of these decisions.
I would concur with that. The legislature unfortunately has given us unfunded mandates and has is forcing us to fill the career ladder and use it in such a way that we've not used it before. And so these unfunded mandates, put a strain on our, the resources that we have. And so I think the CTE director position is a valuable one. And unfortunately, at this time, we just are unable to fund it. Any other comments or questions? So we have a motion on the floor to rescind and eliminate the CTE director position. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Just making sure you're paying attention. We're actually going to do a roll call. Ms. Watts.
Yes.
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 Okay.
Okay.
And then, Vice Chairman Manning, on the next part, we were in executive session also to engage in communications with a representative of the public agency's risk manager or insurance provider to discuss the adjustment of a pending claim or prevention of a claim imminently likely to be filed. The mere presence of a representative of the public agency's risk manager or insurance provider at an executive session does not satisfy this requirement. So this was information only. And then we have the section J, to consider labor contract matters authorized under section 74-206A, subsection L, A, and B, Idaho Code. And that also was information only.
Okay. Thank you very much. We are at the end of our meeting, I believe. We do have some information only items. And that includes upcoming dates and events. June 3rd to 27th is Credit Recovery and Advanced Opportunity Summer School. June 16th, budget hearing next week. June 26th, summer school graduation. Where's that at, by the way? Do we know?
Summer school graduation.
I'm sure it'll be somewhere great.
In
Auditorium
we've had
Caldwell.
it at the Caldwell Auditorium before, but let us know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, June 30, migrant summer school begins. July 4, Independence Day, district office will be closed. July 14, regular board meeting. And July 28th, board summer retreat. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.